Good afternoon. Good afternoon to all of you. Thank you for joining me. Welcome to Thinking Tuesday. It's if it's 12 on Tuesday, you know that it's time for Thinking Tuesday. And Thinking Tuesday is an opportunity for us to do our weekly mental checkup. Yes, it's very, very important that we check our minds, we check our thoughts, just as we check ourselves physically, to make sure that we're all functioning well in one unit in unity, so to speak. Um, we want to ask ourselves, what makes us think what we're thinking? How is our thinking serving us? And how can we challenge the way we think to make it serve us better if, in fact, we realize that our thinking is keeping us stuck? It's not taking where we'd like to go. It's not making us live the kind of life that we'd like to live. So it's important to check our thinking. We don't just want random thoughts to be in our minds, occupying our minds, living rent free in our minds without checking them. Are they tenants that we want? Are these the kind of tenants that we want in our, renting space in our minds? So if they're good tenants, if they're serving us well, then we keep them. If they're not good tenants, because they're not yielding us the results that we'd like, then we have to evict them, right? And we don't even give them notice. This is not one of those situations where we give notice before we evict. We have the right to evict, to get rid of those thoughts that are not serving us well. So, this is what Thinking Tuesday is all about. And for those of you who have not been here before, I just want to let you know that we have a motto. And our motto is: Your mind is a garden, and your thoughts are the seeds. And you, yes, you, the gardener, can choose if you want to grow flowers or if you want to grow weeds. And you know that when we refer to weeds, we mean those negative, self limiting, self defeating thoughts, those negative, self limiting thoughts that tell us what we can and what we cannot do. They might tell us that we cannot dream, that if we dare to dream, perhaps, that our dreams are too big for us to come to accomplish. They might be asking, well, who are you to have that dream? You're not entitled to dream that. You're not worthy of dreaming that or thinking that. Those are the weeds. They are those thoughts that tell us that we don't deserve to dream, perhaps. That they're telling us that we're too old to dream, perhaps. You know, all of those thoughts that are keeping us stuck in very uncomfortable places and don't allow us to listen to or cultivate those thoughts that tell us, yes, you can, which are the positive thoughts. On Thinking Tuesday, we encourage you to grow flowers, get rid of the weeds. We encourage you to grow flowers, which are those positive thoughts that allow you to aspire for more, to think that you're worth aspiring for more, those that tell you that you're worth your dreams and that your dreams are worthy of you as well. Those thoughts that tell you, yes, I can start a business. Yes, I can find that partner that I've been looking for. Or, yes, that I am capable of purchasing that house that I've always wanted, perhaps. Or finding a way to take that vacation that you've been longing for, that you keep putting off. They are those thoughts that help you to develop that can do attitude. It's very, very important that I remind you something that I've said before, that all that we are is the result of all that we have thought. All that we are is the result of all that we have thought. It begins with our thinking. So just take a moment to quickly reflect on where you are right now. And if you're honest with yourself, you will agree that all of the decisions that you have made to date, that I have made to date, were made based on our thoughts. If you thought you could, you did, right? And if you thought you couldn't, you did not. At least so far, I'd hope. I hope that would change. But let me say that a different way, the way that Henry Ford said it. Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Just think about that. Whether you think you can or whether you can't, whether you think you can't, you're right in either one of those situations because you determine what you think and you determine how that thinking is going to drive you forward or keep you stuck or even push you backwards. So, what have you been thinking that may have been keeping you stuck, for example, and prevented you from doing something that you would really, really like to do? And then, when you've thought about that thing, why have you been putting limits on yourself? If in fact it's kept you stuck, your thinking, and also kept you from doing that thing that you really want to do. Why have you put limits on yourself? Why do you put limits on yourself? Because we all do from time to time. Sometimes big limits, sometimes not so big limits, but limits are limits. I don't know what your answers might be when you upon your reflection, but I do know that many times we do not achieve what we want because we think that what we want is selfish. It's selfish to do what we want, and also it's selfish to do what we aspire. That is sometimes what gets in the way of our not achieving what we want to achieve. It has to do with our thinking. So, why do we think it's selfish sometimes? Why do we think it's selfish? Because we tend to look at selfishness as negative. What do you think about when you hear the word selfish? Normally, generally, we think about someone who is very self absorbed, who thinks just about themselves before they think about others, and who think of themselves to the exclusion of others. It conjures up that image that we don't want to be associated with when we think of the word selfish. But it's Thinking Tuesday. And on Thinking Tuesday, we look at how we're thinking and we try to reframe how we think. We try to change the way we think. Today, I want you to think of being selfish as a healthy thing. Are you surprised at that? But I want just indulge me for a few minutes, right? Because Thinking Tuesday is not a long discourse, but indulge me for a while, and I'd like you to think about being selfish as healthy. It doesn't always describe that person that I just mentioned, that self absorbed person who does not think about other people. How many times have you denied yourself of something that could be helpful to you just because you tend to feel guilty that it might be taking away from someone else? When it really, really doesn't, if you really think about it or allow yourself to really look at the whole scenario. Sometimes it's because we're fearful. Sometimes it's because we feel that we are not worth it. Whatever it is, but we can feel selfish because we feel that we're taking away from others when that's really not the case. How many times have you put your needs on the back burner because you feel that it would cost too much? I don't have enough money. If that's the cost that you're talking about. How many times have you neglected to do something for yourself because you don't feel that you have enough time? Again, that's a cost. You don't feel that you have enough time to invest in what you need for yourself. And how many times have you decided to quit trying to achieve something that you want to achieve because you think you're too old? I could go on and on. The list is very long, but just think about what's been your reason, if this is the case for you. What's been the reason why you have put off doing some things, achieving some things, because you feel it's selfish? And you give yourself all these reasons why you feel it would be selfish. Well, today, as I said before, I want you to begin to shift your thinking. I want you to begin to shift your thinking, shift your mindset, and think of being selfish as self care. Yes, self care. We take care of ourselves in a lot of different ways. When we get up in the morning, we brush our teeth, we comb our hair, we take a shower, we decide what clothing we want to wear. That's self care. And that's being selfish. You're thinking about yourself. Self care is not selfish. And I'm sure you would agree with that. It is essential to our happiness and it is essential to our self leadership. The way we lead ourselves has to do with being selfish, because if we are not selfish, if we don't take care of ourselves, if we're not aware of our thinking, if we're not aware of how we're interacting with each other, that's poor self leadership. So we're talking about self care, and being selfish is necessary for us to take care of ourselves. We're not talking about to the exclusion of other people or being so self absorbed that we can't think about other people. Because if we don't take care of ourselves, and the reason why I say that self care is selfishness has to do with self care, and self care is not selfish, because putting yourself first is essential, because you can't give what you don't have. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone. You can't pour from an empty cup, as the saying goes, right? Putting yourself first allows you to give more generously, in fact, to others without feeling resentful. How many times do we put ourselves on the back burner because we feel it's going to be too selfish, and then we get resentful because we're giving from an empty cup, we're trying to pour from an empty cup. We don't feel that we have enough left for ourselves, or we have nothing left for ourselves. So giving to yourself first shows that you are honoring yourself. We have to honor ourselves. We need to feel worthy of self-love. We love ourselves first so that we can love others, because we can't truly love someone else without first loving ourselves. And when we love ourselves, that's a way of being selfish, taking care of ourselves. It is healthy, it is necessary. Because as we care for ourselves, as I said before, we can give more freely because we have something to give. For those of you who have given birth of a child, you remember your doctor's advice about watching what you eat and eating more healthy meals, because how you took care of yourself then determined the health of your baby. So that's being selfish. Taking care of yourself was self care, with that little precious gift in mind. How you took care of yourself, how we took care of ourselves, determined the health of the child that we were bearing. And if you don't have children, and you don't have to be a woman also to appreciate this, but you don't have to be a woman and you don't have to have had children to really appreciate why you need to take care of yourself first. Because if you have ever flown, if you have been on an airplane, one of the first in-flight safety instructions given by the flight attendant is what? Put on your oxygen mask first before helping others. And why is that important rule? Why is that an important rule? For ensuring your survival. You're ensuring your survival because if you run out of oxygen for yourself, you can't help anyone with their oxygen mask. You can't even help the child that's next to you if you run out of oxygen. So, if that is not a selfish act, I don't know what else is because you're taking care of yourself first. But it is about self care and survival so that you can assist someone else. Take first so you can give something. It's a minute, just a minute of self absorption. But you don't just keep your mask on and go about yourself and figure, okay, I'm saving myself first. No, when you get what you need, when you take care of yourself, then you have the ability, you have enough oxygen to help someone else with their oxygen mask. And that's the way it is in life with, you know, always taking care of ourselves so that we can offer someone else a helping hand, or we feel that we have enough that we can give. So today I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you to think differently about how you interpret being selfish. No longer are you going to tell yourself, I can't do that because it's selfish. I would challenge you to see it as being healthy, giving to yourself first so that you are fed and not neglecting yourself, and setting up yourself to feel better, really to feel better when you give because now you have enough to give. You're not going to be resentful. You're not going to be resentful. You'll begin to develop an abundance mindset rather than a scarcity mindset because when we feel that there's not enough to go around, then we're going to tend to be really selfish in that negative way because we're not going to share what we have. You'll not think of how much you're taking from others when you feed yourself first, but you'll be thinking of how much more you can give to others because now there is enough to go around. And that's developing an abundance mindset rather than cultivating a scarcity mindset that there's not enough to go around. When we allow ourselves to think differently, we are opening up ourselves to grow, to continue to grow. Because as I always say, there should be no finish line in our personal growth. We are developing a growth mindset. We are never, never too old to stop growing, to be aware of what we're thinking, because how we think determines how we feel, and how we feel determines how we will act, what we will do, and what we do determines the results that we get. So we think first, and that uh, impacts how we feel. And based on how we feel, that's going to determine the action we take. And based on the action that we take, we're going to have results. Make sure your results are the results of positive thinking so that you can feel better and you can make better choices. And your choices will be choices that make you feel good, make you feel happy, bring joy to your life. So keep an open mind. Question what you think and why are you having those thoughts. Focus on developing a growth mindset. A growth mindset. So I hope this has added value to you. I hope that you will share it with someone else who could benefit from it. As I've always reminded you, this message, as well as all of my previous Thinking Tuesday messages, may be found on my Thinking Tuesday channel, my YouTube channel, in fact, which is Thinking Tuesday, Cheryl Burton. You may also go to my website, drcherylburton.com. And I'd like you to go there not just to see the programs and services that I offer as a coach, but also to download a free brochure that's waiting there for you. It's free, complimentary. It's how to cultivate a growth mindset. It helps you to begin to look at how you approach things. What things are you doing that might be keeping you stuck or not getting you where you want to go? And what can you begin to do? How can you begin to think differently? How can you begin to act in ways that propels you forward and not keep you stuck? How can you open your mind and cultivate a growth mindset? What steps can you take? So be my guest. Go to my website, drcherylburton.com, to download that free brochure on how to cultivate a growth mindset. While you're there, if there's something on your mind, if you're facing some challenge, if you want to know what's your next step to moving forward, if you want to get out of that negative mindset that's telling you no, you're not worth it, you can't, you shouldn't, for whatever reasons, and you want some help in thinking through what is challenging you, feel free to reach out to me through my website, also drcherylburton.com, and request a complimentary confidential consultation, which I will be happy to share with you. But reach out to me through my website. Through my website, also, you can book me to speak at your events. Just let me know what the event is, what the theme is. If you'd like me to help you create a theme that I could speak to, that would be fine. But all of that can be available or is available to you through my website. I hope that this has added value to you, as I said before. I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday at noon for another Thinking Tuesday message. So go about your day thinking differently, keeping an open mind, and not thinking that selfish is negative. Being selfish is healthy. Being selfish has to do with self care. So take care, think differently, and I'll see you next Tuesday at noon. Bye for now. Take care.